Goes into my belly.
Rolling. Hey, 58.1. Shout out to Princeton. Some people at Princeton are watching us. Man.
Yeah, home of Woodrow Wilson and Brooke Shields. Good job, Princeton. Shout out to you.
Also, Dean Cain, who dated Brooke Shields, and at Princeton.
And who is Dean Cain?
One of the Supermen.
Oh,
Supermen.
okay. All right.
Also, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Kurt Gödel, Albert Einstein, Bezos.
Who's Bezos?
Jeff Bezos, like, runs what? Frickin' Amazon, right?
Okay.
Bunch of other.
All right.
All right. So, a couple just random thoughts. You know, I kind of believe that the universe is. I definitely believe the universe is older than it appears to be. However, I've started. You know, people have. You got me started on this. Lance is like, hey, why don't you always talk about this? Why don't you put your frickin' whatever where your mouth is and work with an actual scientist and see if you can get like some shit done. So I'm starting that, starting on a paper if I ever get my shit together, where I accumulate I make a list of all the objects in the universe that might actually be older than the apparent age of the universe. However, we observe more and more stuff, obviously, because we've put satellites up in orbit where they're not, images aren't going to be distorted by the Earth's atmosphere. And then we've set up these huge satellite arrays on Earth where you can avoid distortion by triangulating and doing sophisticated. Anyway, our observational capacities are getting better and better. So shouldn't we have noticed stuff that already noticed stuff that looks like it's older than the universe? And that kind of depends on how much the new universe washes away the old stuff. Like, I'd kind of guess that in the turnovers between, little bangs, the violence of those things probably obliterate, most of the contents of the galaxy, scramble it. Maybe the central blackish hole survives, but like planets and solar systems might get like blasted away. And using the metaphorical equivalence that that the physics of the universe is something like the physics of consciousness, you can ask yourself, how much of your awareness from moment to moment is fully old information? And how much of it is new information streaming into your consciousness? And I don't know what the ratio is. But anyway, all right, there's that. Also, my wife and I have been watching Pose on FX, which is a show about people in drag, trans people in the 90s. And watching that show has made me increasingly realize that I'm in male drag. That I have done so much shit to make myself more masculine that it's as if I'm not that masculine guy, a not super masculine guy who's made himself like gristly and veiny and hacked like I've carved more than 8 feet of scars into myself.
Can we see the scars?
Yeah, you got this one, and this one's my nicest one because. All right. Okay. This is my nicest one because it starts here, and then it's as if whoever slashed me, the slashing stopped as it came off my pec and then started again under my pec. Well, that was all carefully, planned.
So you're saying you did them yourself?
Yeah, I did this one and this one.
For those that haven't seen the shows, can you tell us about that whole story?
I just thought that girls might like scars. And I had scars, but they were all in like terrible places that wouldn't impress girls. Like my butthole after hemorrhoid surgery is fantastically scarred. I've been told, I haven't seen my butthole a lot, but I've been told it looks like lips. And I get the feeling just from touching it when I have to wipe and stuff that it's like a sea anemone. But it's some horrible thing down there. And that's not going to impress a girl. I've got scars all down this leg from a vein stripping. Again, and I have a hernia scar. None of these scars would.
Can you show us a hernia scar?
You can't do that.
You can actually. If it's educational, you can show that stuff on YouTube.
Well, I learned quite a bit right there.
Okay. You know, there are videos of women getting their nether parts waxed. They're ostensibly educational.
Here we finally get some appreciation from the Ivy League, Princeton, and you go and show them your bollocks.
In pubic.
No, there was. I didn't. Anyway.
What would Woodrow Wilson think about that?
Well, he'd see that I'm a white man, and he'd be like, "Yeah, do whatever you want, Whitey."
What do you think of this? Since you mentioned space, what do you think of Trump's new space corps?
It's just one more. It's like he's not a very disciplined thinker. And yeah, there will be a time for Space Force. It's not Space Corps, Space Force, Space Force, Space Force. I was going around after he made that announcement. My wife got very annoyed because for like an hour or two, I was just walking around the house going, Space Force, Space Force, Space Force. It's fun to say. Anyway, but the time for Space Force, actually what we need is like Cyber Force, because that's where the threats are coming from. But, all right.
I hope there's a song for Space Force.
Well,
Who would write that song? Radiohead or
somebody who was big in the 70s.
the Cars?
David
Might
Bowie.
write that.
Oh, yeah.
David Bowie.
Yeah.
Right.
Devo.
Space Devo. Why? You guys are good at this game.
All right, shall we move on to...
But it would not be John Philip Sousa.
Well...
All right, so go ahead. You were saying about the Space Force. Continue.
Well, I just, we're not ready for Space Force. It's not needed yet. We don't have the... Anyway, what do you think of Space Force?
I just think it's a great idea. I think people will be laughing about Space Force the way they laughed about Star Wars, and it turned out that Star Wars was vital technology that is
Well, yeah,
essential.
we tricked Russia into bankrupting themselves.
Well,
So in Star Wars, we're not talking about the movie, we're talking about the missile defense system.
which has saved thousands of lives in Israel and is an integral part of our defense forces. And not only did it trick the Russians, but it tricked the liberals because they were making fun of it the same way you're making fun of the Space Force right now.
Well, 35 years ago, when Reagan announced it didn't work. Now it kind of works.
It works because responsible conservatives like Trump made sure that it happened.
Space Force.
And I just want to say you're not showing much respect to the men and women that have died in the Space Force. There are a lot of patriots out there, trying to keep Earth free, and you're not showing much respect for them.
I appreciate. I thank them for their service.
All right.
In the future.
Okay. All right. All right. So what else did you want to say, Rick? Since you're kind of on a roll.
All right. Well, I mean, this was a week where everybody got all worked up, including over the kidnapped, the separated kids. Kids separated by ICE, and as their parents got arrested for attempting to enter the country. And Trump had a rally, and he talked about the angel families. An angel family is a family that has lost a family member to an illegal immigrant, which I guess means they have an angel in the family, that person being the person who was killed. Trump had 11 of them on stage. He autographed the headshots of each of the dead, which was weird. See, with Trump, there's like a mix of stuff that is awful because it's a violation of the laws of human decency, and then there's stuff that's just awful because it's clowny, like autographing the faces of the dead. Like, what the heck? The mix of kids taken away and Melania wearing a goofy jacket. Trump abrogating the rule of law with regard to people trying to enter the country, where they, under the Constitution, even people who aren't citizens who offer themselves for asylum and other stuff have certain rights under the Constitution, but Trump's like, no, just get rid of them without legal hearings. So that you have that on the one hand, which seems kind of sinister, and then on the other hand, you have three members of the Trump team, Sarah Sanders, Kirsten Nielsen, who's head of HHS, and who's the third who got turned away, chased out of a restaurant? Stephen Miller, chased out of restaurants for working for Trump in the past week. So it's a mashup between the insidious and the ridiculous.
What kind of restaurant?
The first two, Kirsten Nielsen and Miller, they decided that all this talk of Mexicans gave them an appetite for Mexican food, which is perfectly reasonable because Mexican food is delicious. I don't know that Washington, D.C. Mexican food would be that delicious because the further east you go, at least it used to be, the more Mexican food was not. It declined in quality. But anyway, they wanted to go to Mexican restaurants, and they were chased out.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's like a distraction. I'm okay with them getting chased out, but it's also a distraction from the real issues.
Would it be okay if we chased Democrats out of restaurants?
It depends on if they were, engaging in thuggery.
Well, so basically, if it's someone you don't like,
Oh, yeah.
then you want them chased out of restaurants. That's your style now, Rick.
Yeah.
Well, that's typical Democrat. I've said, actually, it was...
Because I'm in manly drag. I'm a manly man who's just like fucking vicious.
No, it's
I punched a weight machine today.
It's because you're part of the resistance. Mm-hmm. See, I didn't make this up. It was Dennis Prager that first pointed out that there's a totalitarian streak among Democrats, that what they really want is violence. If they can't have their way through the ballot box, they'll be happy to impose their will through violence. Yeah, and that's basically what this is. This is how you get what you want, by intimidating and harassing your opponent.
That's right. I'm a violent man. Today there was on the tricep press down, somebody had stuck chewing gum in the weight selector dial, and it wasn't working well, and I just punched the machine. I took the skin off my knuckles because it wasn't doing what I wanted, and it had to be taught a lesson.
Isn't there a Supreme Court ruling where you don't have to serve somebody, like the cake?
Yeah. I mean...
Did that fall into this?
Yeah. You don't have to make cakes for gay guys.
So you don't have to serve a conservative.
Well, it's not the same thing, though, because what this is leading to is the difference is the cake guy was actually being asked to use his artistic ability to do something creative that he didn't believe in. Whereas this is a restaurant that serves customers. Theoretically, they are open for business. And if you order a ham sandwich, put it this way, had blacks walked into this restaurant and the person said, well, I don't like blacks, get out of here, they would be breaking the law. So I don't think...
Yeah, but if an individual person walks in and it's not on the basis of gender or race,
Well, why does it?
What I like about the Sarah Sanders thing at the Red Hen restaurant, what everybody on Twitter likes, and of course Twitter rules my thinking,
Yes.
is they took a vote among the staff, and the staff said, they were like, should we serve her or not? And the staff said, voted against serving her. So there was like a little helping of some kind of weird restaurant staff democracy there.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of when Rand Paul was beaten up by his neighbor who was a liberal, and
It wasn't over the politics,
no,
wasn't it over some other?
Yeah, it was politics. No one knows for sure, but it was. We think it was politics, and they don't want to admit it. And then it was like when that guy showed up at the Republican softball.
And shot up Steve Scalise
Yeah,
and
and
another.
he was attempting to kill the top 10, 10 of the Republicans, the whole House majority. Had he succeeded, he would have killed, I don't know, 10 or 15 Republicans. So this is kind of the way Democrats are these days, you know.
As opposed to everybody who shoots up a school.
They actually went to that woman's house, the head of the.
And they played the sound of crying babies
Yeah, they
outside
went to her house. So that's the way you guys want to be now. You're thugs, just like your Marxist buddies in the Soviet
we're
Union.
thugs like John Cusack and say anything, holding up a boombox
Yeah.
with the sound of
Well,
crying babies.
supposing I
Thuggery.
went to Obama and I went to Obama's house and said, you know what? There are 200,000 Iraqi Christians, Yazidis, and the wrong type of Muslim. They're all dead because you pulled the troops out. Would that be okay, Rick? If I put a loudspeaker out and I had pictures of all the little children?
Yeah, I'm okay
That
with
would be
that.
okay.
Because that would be a good stunt to get publicity.
No, and what if I decided to shoot up all the Democrat congressmen that voted for that at their softball game?
No, that's not good because it ends
Okay.
with people getting hit with
And what
balls.
happens when the Obama staff want to eat at a restaurant? Should I organize protests? Should I go to their houses? Should I kick them out on the street?
If you can, I mean, sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's the way we conduct things in the United States, but that's the way liberals do, as you can see. I've asked Rick. Rick's in favor of it. So that's the future if you want Democrats. If Democrats don't get their way, they're going to come to your homes. They're going to try to intimidate you. They're not going to let you patronize their businesses. They're thugs.
Do you know who your congresswoman is, Lance?
I believe it's Maxine Waters.
And do you know that she was on the news today about exactly what you're talking about?
So Maxine Waters, said we should behave with decorum? Or no, we should behave with less decorum. We should go crazy on people.
She said that if you see a Trump personnel, whatever, you should follow them and
Shame
just
them?
Shame them, yeah.
Yeah. That's what you guys. Because ultimately, this is why the immigration thing is happening. See, the Democrats can't get what they want. The Democrats want power. Okay, they're not trying to help the American people. What they want is power, and they realize that they can't win if they just had the average American. The American of the 1980s voted in a landslide Republican. So that's what's happening. The Democrats are thugs, and they figure what we can do
You
is
mean they voted in a landslide for a charismatic Republican president?
So what they decided to do is they're going to bring in millions and millions of illegal aliens, because if they can't get what they want, they'll bring in people from other countries that'll vote for what they want.
Well, then they're super incompetent because arrests by the Border Patrol are at their lowest level since 1971. Like a quarter of what arrests were at the peak of 10, 15 years ago. Very few people, relatively few. I mean, it's a 46-year low in arrests by Border Patrol, even though the Border Patrol is being more aggressive than ever before. It's not a flood of immigrants, and Trump is turning immigration into a fake crisis.
Okay, well, it's actually, we accept 160,000 illegal or Mexicans to be citizens of the United States, not even illegal. And
Yeah.
the number of illegals, apparently there are 25% of all of the people that we accept as immigrants, legal immigrants, come from Mexico.
So 160,000 Mexicans
year.
per year,
Yeah.
which is 1/20th of 1% of the U.S. population.
Which, if it was placed in the right precincts, could throw Texas to the Democrats.
Yeah, but that's not how it works.
But that is how it works, because the Democrats are very well organized. They had an office in the White House that was dragging immigrants, illegal and legal, placing them in special precincts across the United States so that they could try to turn those states Republican or Democrat.
Yeah, how'd that go?
It went fine. That's how they got Obama elected. That's if Obama and
Really? He
Yeah,
was
yeah,
elected by
yeah.
a hair's breadth of Mexicans
Yeah,
who didn't have the right to vote.
I believe there was massive voter fraud.
Yeah, you believe that, but there's no evidence of it, and it's been thrown out of court a zillion times.
Yeah.
Also, they came
Yeah,
out with
there
a
is-
study
there
was
is.
leaked.
Yeah.
Last week or 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the cost of immigrants, illegal immigrants to the country. It turns out that the government commissioned a study, and it turns out that according to the study, the Trump administration suppressed the study because it turns out instead of costing the country tens of billions, through taxes, illegal immigrants actually pay more. There's a net benefit to the country of $63 billion a year from illegal immigrants.
Yeah, and I read the Washington Times
Which is
study.
like the conservative
And,
route.
yeah, and they say it's 135 billion cost. Now, one thing that we know is that unemployment among black people has gone up as illegal immigration went up.
Really? I thought
yeah.
black unemployment was at the lowest level in history.
It is, but at the times that in the 1980s, when illegal immigration was very high, black unemployment went up 7%.
Actually, from 1930 through 1990, the percent of Americans who were foreign born was at its lowest levels. For half of the 20th century, for most of the history of the U.S., the percentage of Americans who are foreign born has been over 10%. From the almost all of the 19th century, it was at 13% or more. But from 1930 through 1980 or 90, it actually dropped to very low, relatively low levels, and dropped as low as 4.7% in 1970.
Well, there are good reasons for that. In the 19th century, we had a giant country we were trying to fill up with people. So we wanted more immigrants, and we allowed more in. In the 1990s, we don't need more people. Since the
Really? Because the birth rate is 0.7% in America. The growth rate in America is 0.7%. At that rate, it would take America 100 years to double in population. And we're going up against China, which already has 4 times our population, and India, which has 4 times our population.
Okay, well,
And unemployment, as Trump likes to say, is at its lowest levels
Okay.
in decades. So,
Rick,
so you just don't like the Browns coming in.
no, Rick, I don't want any more immigration. I want immigration from the world to be cut down to a trickle. But the
Because
thing,
why? What are they costing us?
They're
Actually,
costing us $135 billion a year.
according to the Washington Times,
And-
which is this
and-
goofy
and-
paper owned by the late Sun Myung Moon.
Okay, there are plenty of statistics I can find you that show that they cost a fortune. But my point is this, and they commit crimes vastly greater than the average American.
Nope,
Yep,
that's
yep,
total bullshit.
yep,
Nope.
yep,
Immigrants
yep,
have
yep.
a lower crime rate
Nope, they
than
have a
native
higher
born.
crime rate. The
According
illegal
to,
aliens have a higher crime rate.
nah, not even them.
Nope, they do. We can look it up.
Or we will look it
We
up
will
on
look it
break.
Illegal
Well, let's
aliens.
talk about the crime rate.
Wait. Illegal aliens have a much higher crime rate than Americans that are legal citizens.
Are you including the supposed crime of just trying to get into America? You throwing
No,
that in
I'm
there?
including rape, murder,
Yeah, okay.
robbery.
I looked
and-
up.
Yeah,
I looked up MS-13 statistics
Yeah.
on a conservative site, the Center for Immigration Studies, which is a conservative think tank
Yes.
dedicated to dropping immigration down to as close to zero as they can.
yeah.
And I came up with some fun statistics. So, for every American, now it is a tragedy. Every American murdered by MS-13 or killed by an illegal immigrant is a tragedy.
Careful. Yeah,
But there are other tragedies.
yeah.
For every person killed by MS-13, for every American killed by MS-13, 400 people Americans overdose on drugs. 200 people die from guns. For every person killed by MS-13, twice as many people die from falling off of ladders, Americans, as are killed by MS-13. Ooh, I got numbers. My hand's going numbers, but let me try to get some. 16 times as many people die from choking as killed by MS-13. 6 times as many people die from autoerotic asphyxiation as are killed by MS-13. So people killed by MS-13, their survivors are called angel families. So we need names for all these people. We can call people killed by guns bullet families. We can call pharma families, people who die from overdoses at a rate 400 times as those killed by MS-13. 180,000, more than 1,000 people die from obesity for every person killed by MS-13. More than 90 people, according to one estimate, die from shitty infrastructure in America. And haven't we had 3 infrastructure weeks so far under Trump, yet no infrastructure bill? 90 people dying from shitty roads and other infrastructure, compared to for every 1 person killed by MS-13. So Trump is making this one issue. The center.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Go ahead, answer.
Okay. So this was fascinating. I want you to know this was fascinating. Rick is energized. He's excited. And I want people to understand. That this is why math is a poor preparation for debate. Because in spite of his fascination with the numbers, he doesn't understand the importance in what he's saying, where the truth lies. You see, Rick, the numbers don't matter. What matters is every single one of those people that dies because of the Democrats bringing in people we don't need. So it doesn't really matter if more people died by, say, slipping in the shower. The number isn't relevant.
Well,
even if the number was much, much higher, the important thing, the point you missed, is that none of the people had to die that were killed by MS-13. They were all killed by policies of your party. Because your party would rather Americans die than lose the possibility of illegal aliens voting them into power.
What percent of
Don't
MS-13
interrupt
in
me.
America?
Don't interrupt me.
It came from outside
I
the
don't
country.
care.
You don't care.
I don't care. No, I don't care. The percentage isn't important. Their deaths are on your head, Rick. Those are the people you're fighting for. You want them here. You won't do anything to get rid of them. You want an open border.
Well, you'd love to
because
say-
the important thing to you is to bring in as many illegals as you possibly can and turn the U.S. into
Both
a
those things you
democratic
just
society.
said are lies. I don't want an open border.
You don't want an open border. Then why are you arguing with me? Just out of habit?
Because Trump uses this one thing to gin up his base, to get them all worked up.
It's not one thing. They contribute to unemployment. They did. There are
The
towns,
Browns
There are
contribute?
towns.
Those brown folks?
Rick, there are towns in Northern California, in the Farm Belt in Central California, that cracked down on illegal immigration. Really got rid of all the illegals, and they were very upset. The growers kept saying, well, we'll never find other Americans to do these jobs. And you know what happened in these towns? After the illegals were run out, they had to put ads in the paper that they were hiring, and they were now hiring a normal American wage. So in other words, the growers simply had to raise the amount of money they were offering.
And we have to pay more for strawberries.
And and Americans would do the work. So what
I thought unemployment
illegals,
was at the lowest point in 40 years.
It is, but the point is that illegals bring in cheap labor that lowers employment for Americans.
But there's no room for them, even though
No.
the American
No, no.
birth rate,
No,
the
no.
birth rate in America
I don't care.
is at its lowest rate in history.
Okay. So my point is this, Rick. Here's where you're going now. You're a mathematician. Because you're a mathematician, I'll go at it from the math angle.
What's more math?
If you bring in millions of unskilled labor into a country, what do you think happens to the unskilled labor that were living in that country? Do they have the same number of opportunities to get jobs?
How much it affects the labor market depends on the
Well,
numbers.
I said earlier that unemployment among blacks goes up whenever illegal immigration goes up.
Which makes sense because illegal immigration is at a 46-year low and black unemployment is at the lowest rate in history.
So you favor stopping illegal immigration?
Well, I'm not in favor of open borders, like as every conservative likes to say about
Well, you're
every
arguing
liberal.
with me. Do you want to build a wall?
I'm okay with.
You want to close the border?
Yeah, I'm okay with enforcing.
So you want to build a wall?
No, not entirely, because illegal immigration is at its lowest level since 1971, without a complete wall. Now, there's already a wall across, a third of the entire U.S.-Mexico border?
It's not complete. I don't know the exact numbers.
And then they liberals like to say, well, the places where a lot of the places where there is no wall are places where you don't need a wall because the terrain is so unforgiving, or because the terrain is the frickin' Rio Grande.
If it can be shown that there are places where having a wall, and it has been shown, will cut down illegal immigration, are you in favor of a wall?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Are you in favor of an end to chain migration?
Not entirely, no.
Okay, so you want chain migration.
Well, it depends on what you define.
Well, we're going all the way out to cousins and grandparents right now.
I'm okay with putting limits on how far you can go in terms of family relations.
So
But
so you want it to be just the man and his wife, and if they have a
their
kid,
kids.
Okay, then you're in favor of limiting.
And on an individual basis,
hang on.
no, hold on. I've got I have a mom and a mother-in-law who are each 85.
Okay, so you want people to bring in more than their immediate family.
Well, my mom's immediate family. I'd be okay with bringing, if it can be proven that my mom would be, and my grandma, my mom and my mother-in-law, who would have a hard time. Yeah.
How many family members do you think a person should bring in if they get citizenship in the U.S.?
Depends on how many close family members they have.
Well, what if they have 10 children and 2 sets of grandparents?
2 sets of parents.
Yeah.
On an individual basis, they show need.
They show need? We're doing
They
this
show
on,
that.
based
They show
on
that
need
somebody.
now?
No, they make a legitimate case for why these family members should. Some people should get like an automatic in, like a spouse.
Do you favor cutting off? Okay, so you don't believe in having cousins or grandparents.
Unless like the cousin is like in a freaking wheelchair.
So
and
now
the
you
cousin,
want cousins too.
No, you listen to what I'm saying. Probably not most cousins, but if you can make
Some
a case to the court, if you've been caring for the cousin, say the cousin's parents are deceased, and the cousin lives in your house, and you care for the cousin because the cousin is paraplegic or some shit like that, then yeah, you make the case for the court.
Well, right. Okay, what I'm trying to tell
But
you.
yeah, I'm saying
you
I don't
want
disagree with the
Should
concept.
there be a limit of chain migration?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Do you think there should be e-verify? Do you know what that is?
I don't know.
Okay. It has been proposed that when you hire somebody, they should have a little card with a chip proving that they're American citizens. Do you believe that should be used by all employers?
If it goes along with other stuff, yeah.
Okay.
Like we make it hard for people to vote. If that same e-verify thing verifies you as a voter, I'm okay with that.
All right.
Now, historically, a national ID program has made people on the right nervous and people on the left.
Well,
people on the left because it reeks of Big Brother. People on the right because it seems like a thing from the Book of Revelation where everybody is numbered or something.
Okay, so you don't believe in e-verify for
No, I'm all
employers.
right with that.
Okay.
I'm just saying that historically there's been resistance.
All right. So Rick, then you are a supporter of Trump's policies. We just went through the 3 main components of Trump's policies, and you are a Trump supporter.
No.
Because you believe in building a wall, you believe in limiting chain migration, and you believe in e-verify.
Not absolutely in the case of the first 2.
So you don't believe in building a wall.
I believe in building a wall where it would help to build a wall.
Well, that's what Trump is going to do. He wants to build a wall where it would help to build a wall. So you're a Trump supporter now, Rick.
No, because Trump demagogues the whole thing.
No, I don't care whether he demagogues it or not. Those are the 3 main points. Wait, and there's one more factor.
Mm-hmm.
He believes that immigration should be based on merit, not luck. So we should evaluate whether that person brings something to the United States that we want.
Yeah, that's kind of an arbitrary deal in that, look at the people who come.
Well, no, because we have a luck lottery.
Yeah, we do.
Right now, it's chosen by just random. There's no evaluation. If we have a Nobel Prize-winning scientist, or we have a fruit picker from Pakistan that can't even speak Pakistani, they both have the same chance of getting into the U.S. Are you in favor of that?
I'm in favor of modifying it to some extent.
So you think merit should be a factor?
It can be. I mean,
So
we got the
so
H-1B.
on 4 points, you're a Trump supporter.
No, because
On the 4 things that Trump wants, you agree with him.
no. I mean, I'm okay if building the wall helps
Yes.
get a deal, like fixes the DACA thing and fixes other things.
Okay.
I mean, and I don't think I'm.
But Trump was in favor of allowing 1 million DACA kids into the country. So again, on 5 major points, you agree with Trump. You're a Trump supporter, Rick.
No,
On the issue of immigration, you're a Trump supporter.
No, because Trump offered this package of 4 or 5 conditions.
Those are them.
They are, but
The ones you just agreed
but
to.
they're pretty absolute. There was
No. It's a complicated bill. There are little odds and ends.
Or
that
are you going to
modify
let
it.
the Democrats negotiate this stuff, or does
Well,
it take it or leave it?
It's basically that.
What do you
I
mean,
mean,
basically that?
I mean, it's a legal document, so they take into account a variety of unusual conditions, like what if their only family member is their grandmother, or what if they live with the cousin, or they take into account little things like that. But on
I haven't read the document.
5 major points that Trump is proposing, you agree with him.
Yeah, but so do some of the Democrats.
Okay,
Like
so
Schumer's like, all right,
what
well,
you're saying is that on the issue of immigration, Trump is correct and you're a supporter.
No, because Trump demonizes.
Who cares if he demonizes? What if he wags his penis at people? Who cares? You agree with him because it's the right thing to do. It's logical.
No, because you like to say if there's room for negotiation on each of these things, that I absolutely agree with everything Trump says, which is misrepresenting what I'm saying.
But nothing in what he's saying is going to change much. I mean, you say you're in favor of merit.
Well,
You're in favor of limiting chain migration.
Let's talk about the specifics. You said that 1/4 of the people let into America every year are from Mexico, right?
Correct.
All right. So that means 640,000 come into America legally, doing the math. 4 times 160, 640,000. So out of that 640,000, maybe there's room for changing the proportion from 0 by merit, though I have a hard time believing that it is 0 by merit because you got these H-1B visas.
Well, you do have those.
How many of those are there?
I don't know. I don't know because those are a separate issue. They have to be asked for by the thing. But what I'm saying
maybe,
is
I don't
we
know.
have a lottery.
Yeah.
We have a lottery. Basically, if your number comes up, you get to come into the country. Whether you're a street sweeper in Pakistan or a Nobel Prize winning physicist.
I'll give you a model for that. The LA public schools.
No, this is going to be a long diversion.
No, it's not. It's going to be quick. The LA public schools don't have a lot of money. They have great programs, but they don't have enough money to have those, to let in everybody that wants to be in those programs into those programs. So they have a lottery system. And you accumulate entries based on a bunch of stuff, like have you been turned down before? That's worth a ticket. Do you have a sibling who made it in? That's worth a ticket. Have you qualified as gifted? I think that's where, anyway. Carol spent years accumulating tickets, and eventually our kid won the lottery and got to go to a good school. So what about some system, maybe it's overly complicated, that says, yeah, fruit picker from Pakistan gets 1 entry. But a PhD from Beijing gets 3 entries. And so your odds of getting in. Or maybe there's some guaranteed positions.
Either way, you are in favor of merit-based modification.
To some extent, but I'm not in favor of 100% merit-based. It's a big frickin' world.
All right. But
so that's where you negotiate with Trump if Trump will negotiate.
Well, he's willing to. All right, so by the way, wait, I want to ask you another question. Why do you think it's okay that 25% of the people should just come from Mexico? Why can't 25% come from
I don't know, what,
the
another
Philippines
25% probably come from Asia.
No, but the point is, when they first made the immigration laws, when we went out of the old system was that something like 75-80% of our immigrants had to come from England, Ireland, Germany, or I don't know.
Yeah, it was a bad law.
Well,
it was a bad law based on bad science.
Well, it was basically to bring in more people of the same ethnic stock.
They didn't want to let in people from the swarthy Mediterranean countries.
No. It was actually based on, here's who we are. Let's bring in more people like ourselves.
And they used IQ statistics and
well,
said
regardless,
that,
but my
the guy from Italy who makes a nice
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
but
that guy
all
didn't get in.
So you wanted to change that, but do you think...
A boatload of Jews got sent back to Germany where they were executed by Hitler.
But that wasn't an immigration thing. But
Yeah, it was.
All right,
Yes,
but-
it was.
okay,
The quota had already been met, so back the Jews go.
But Rick, here is my question. Well, that was an issue of not appreciating refugees. True refugee status should have taken care of that. But my question is this: do you think that 25% of the people coming to this country should only come from Mexico?
I'm okay with changing that.
Okay, so again, on 6 points you agree with Trump.
Well,
You're a racist, Rick. Did you know that? You're a white supremacist. You should go kill yourself. Along with Trump and that poor lady that was trying to eat in a restaurant. You're just as bad as they are. How do you like yourself, Rick?
by saying that stuff can be changed, I'm not agreeing 100% with Trump, as
Well,
I've said
even-
like 500 times so far in the last 20
but
minutes.
unfortunately, you're agreeing with Trump. You're not agreeing with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, who don't want any of these reforms.
Schumer agreed to the wall as part of some deal. He said, "Yeah, we'll give you the frickin' wall."
Okay,
And in fact,
he did not. He didn't do it because we didn't get the wall. We even had an extra $15 billion that we found that we hadn't spent, and they passed a law that they couldn't use it for a wall. So Schumer may have said that to you, and you may have believed him, but it didn't work out, Rick. Now, my question to you is this: the Democrats don't want the 6 things that I just said. So why are you still a Democrat? What is it about the Democrat policy that you think is so great?
well, it's not this draconian zero tolerance thing. You want it, if you could limit immigration for 5 years to 0, that's the deal.
No, I wouldn't limit it to 0, but I would cut it way back.
To what, 50,000?
I would cut it way
50,000
back.
PhDs, 50,000 people who already, have.
I would get rid of the illegals in the country, and I would reduce from 500,000 to a case-by-case basis. I wouldn't say we automatically accept 160,000 people from Mexico. I see no reason for that. We're doing just fine without them. So my point is that immigration reform is what Trump is running on, and I hope you Democrats hang yourself on the issue, because you're going to get defeated. You're going to get defeated in November. No matter how many pictures you show of crying children on the news, the Democrats are going to crucify themselves on this issue.
I'll agree with you that there's the potential for overreach. At the same time, a lot of people who've been Republican are somewhat disgusted with what the Republican Party has been. Case in point, George Will, who announced he was leaving the Republican Party and that Democrats need to take back the House and the Senate because the Republican Party has become so corrupt. Only 34% of Americans, according to a recent poll, think that the tax cut is a good thing because it appears to benefit almost entirely rich people. The Republican Party is corrupt.
Okay, so let me get this straight. This week,
Jimmy Fallon said he was ashamed of helping humanize Trump by rumpling Trump's hair when Trump was on the Tonight Show in 2016.
Do you know that one of the things they talked about that was recently released was the minutes of a meeting that was held. The Democrats and actually McCain's people were involved in this meeting. So just to be honest, it helps your argument. But the Democrats asked the IRS under Obama to harass the political opponents of Obama. That was just released.
Okay.
The Democrats in the Senate, their staffers. I can find the article. It was just this week that it came out.
All right,
it might have been in one of those things in the they've been asking for these papers to be released of minutes of private meetings, and it came out that the Democrats were actually made a request. They came out and asked the
All right,
IRS.
let's break now. Let's
to
read
harass
that.
their
We were going to look up
political
some other
opponents.
dang thing. Oh,
Okay.
crime rates.
Okay.
All right, we're going to break.
So-
Let's break.
All right.